I am Montrez Lucas. I'm the Associate Director of Patient Navigation for everyone out there who hasn't met me or haven't had the opportunity to speak with me yet. I've been with NephCure since October of 2022. And with my role, I'm basically a NephCure social worker. I'm sure all you heard my spiel about that. And so what I do is basically link our patients' population with various resources, whether it be financial, 504 plans, as well as emotional support and mental health, and ensure that they are hopefully on their way to becoming both empowered and activated in regards to our community. Throughout my time here, I've helped a number of our patients with second opinions, both domestic and internationally, as well as I've really worked to serve as a support to them. Because of that, and this month being Mental Health Awareness Month, NephCure and myself find it very important that we conduct this webinar to really shed light on mental health awareness and how it particularly affects our patient population, whether that be the caregiver, the patient themselves, or their greater support system. So the meaning and the purpose of this webinar is to really shed light on not only mental health awareness, but the hope aspect. We really want to inspire and motivate not only our panelists, but also our greater population in regards to coping with mental health that comes along with rare kidney disease, and sometimes the difficulties, but also some of the successes. We want to shed light on both. So I have 4 brave panelists who have agreed to go on this journey with me, and they will start by introducing themselves. Let's start with Becca Garcia.
Hi, everyone. My name is Becca Garcia. I'm from Albuquerque, New Mexico. I am a mother to a 13-year-old girl named Bria, and she was diagnosed in 2020 with IgA nephropathy. And we are new to the NephCure family. I stumbled across them in a rabbit hole of mine one night, and I've been welcomed with open arms ever since.
Thank you, Becca. Brooke? Unmute yourself, honey. You're okay.
Hi, my name is Brooke White, and I'm from Enterprise, Alabama. I was diagnosed with FSGS when I was 10 years old, and I've had 2 kidney transplants with recurrent FSGS in both times. I am currently on home dialysis and just trying to live the best I can.
Thank you, Brooke. Jordan Albright.
Hey there, my name is Jordan Albright. I'm based in Atlanta, Georgia. I was diagnosed with APOL1 FSGS this past January. I'm also pretty new to the NephCure family. My mom also found herself in like a rabbit hole, and my younger brother got diagnosed about 2 years ago. And ever since then, we've just gotten pretty well connected and more immersed with NephCure, with other patients and families, and it's been an amazing journey so far. And yeah, I'm really happy to be here.
Thank you, Jordan. And Kiara?
Hi, my name is Kiara Sanders. I am 25 years old. I live in Dallas, Texas. I was diagnosed with minimal change disease I think my symptoms started around 10, but I was officially diagnosed at 11. So it's been rough. I'm 25 now, so it's been a roller coaster. But to have found like a community like NephCure, it's really changed my life. So I'm just happy to be here.
Thank you, Kiara. So now we'll go into the question portion. So I'll ask questions of our panelists, and we'll try to leave 15 minutes at the end so that our audience can put questions in the chat so that we can then ask you all even more questions. Okay? So first question. Due to this panel's topic being mental health and rare kidney disease, regarding your diagnosis, how would you describe your mental health journey from when you were diagnosed to present time? This question is for Brooke, Kiara, and Jordan. Brooke? Unmute again, honey.
I've never done this before, so.
It's okay, don't worry, don't worry. There's no wrong or right way, I promise you.
You got to tell me which question that was again. I'm
It's
sorry.
so the question is, due to the panel's topic being mental health and rare kidney disease, regarding your diagnosis, how would you describe your mental health journey from when you were diagnosed to present time?
So I was diagnosed when I was 10. So I was a typical kid. I didn't really understand it. It was just, really resilient, just wasn't sick in my opinion.
Mhm.
And I guess the older I'm getting, the more I'm understanding it, the harder, I guess, the mental health is getting. I can't brush off things as easy as I could when I was a kid, when I was first diagnosed, and things send me into depression maybe a little bit easier now than it was when I was a kid. So,
Sure.
yeah, that's how I would describe it.
How about you, Jordan?
For me, I would just say it's like, I imagine everyone's kind of, it's an ongoing battle from them until now, for lack of better words. It's, some days I feel great about my circumstances. I know how lucky I am for the position I am in, and being able to detect it early and all those wonderful things. But, as time goes on, I really do try to focus more so on like those positives in the present rather than dwelling on the what ifs and what is to come. But of course, it is very hard to do so, especially for me. It's just, as I mentioned, my younger brother, Joshua, who was diagnosed even before I was, it's one thing think about like your own health, but to like have to also think about your younger brother who's actually a little bit more progressed than you are. It just adds a different element to it for myself, at least. And, yeah, it is hard, not go into those kind of depressive states sometimes and really think about the, just the why or how or what is, so it just like, it really varies. I try to take it day by day and just, focus
Sure.
on the positives.
Thank you, Jordan. Yeah.
So mine is kind of similar to Brooks. I was diagnosed really young, so being so young, I didn't really understand what was going on. Neither did my parents. We had never heard of nephrotic syndrome. When they told us that I was diagnosed, it was like, nephrotic what? Like, what is that? Like, we didn't even know how to spell it. Like we didn't really understand what it was. So I think that kind of made me feel a little bit better because I didn't really know, the how serious it really was.
Mhm.
But one thing that I can say as an adult now with nephrotic syndrome, it's a lot different from having it as a kid. For one thing, because the doctors are a lot different. You get treated a lot better in pediatrics than you do as an adult. So just going through that within itself, like that's another thing that I realized just when I was just reflecting back on just the journey itself. I was like, wow, okay, well, it's been a lot. So for me, I really I was, with me being so confused so young, I didn't really start dealing with depression that bad until high school. Um and so that's when it really started to hit me like, dang, and now an adult, that doesn't make it any better because we have bills, right? So like, so that doesn't help the situation. So yeah, I can say that battling with depression as an adult is a lot harder for me
Sure.
than it was as a kid. So yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. So our next question, this was for just Becca and Jordan. Everyone experiences mental health issues in various ways during difficult times. As the caregiver and/or patient with rare kidney disease, what do these times look like for you? So Becca, for Bria.
So I'm just looking at some keynotes I wrote down here. It's
Mhm.
hard for me. I think I'm more emotional than my daughter is.
Mhm.
And when I see that, like,
she has this like drive and this strength to like get all this stuff done to her. It's hard to see your kid go through something difficult. And I get a lot of my strength mentally and emotionally from her, because I'm like, well, if she's this like tiny little woman that can handle all of this stuff thrown at her, me as her mom, I need to be like just as resilient as her. And
Yeah,
so she kind of is like our foundation, because we feed off of her energy. And so what we notice, I notice when she is her emotion, she tends to just like shut down a little bit more. And so I notice like when she doesn't want to like do something, it's like more of like I don't know, I'm not too sure, versus she doesn't want to say no. Like I think she still has this like mindset as she doesn't want to upset anyone, where I'm trying to get her to like gain this courage and find her voice as a young girl. So I feel like, just reminding her when she's having those moments, how strong she really is
sure.
a good touching point, because she reminds me every day how strong she is.
Bria's definitely tough, so yeah. What about you, Jordan?
So in those time frames, honestly, I tend to try to get really busy. I'll like either overwork, or I'll just pick up some random hobbies, or I'll really just try to fill my time as much as I can, which honestly isn't a very healthy outlet. But for me, it's a good release from time. I'm trying to just get myself distracted. And that really helps me in certain areas of my life. Like, it could help me to grow in certain aspects, which, are positive and kind of can keep me going. But, when I'm really not doing well, sometimes it's really just hard for me to even want to do anything. So sometimes I will just be laying around and kind of just get stuck in an area where I'm really just in my own head. So those time frames for me, they vary. But and for my brother as well, it's just when we're not feeling well, or we're really just in our heads about circumstances, or how it's possibly both, have this genetic mutation, or why, or what if our kids have it one day. It's easy to, maybe be a little bit frustrated or aggravated, and maybe come
Sure.
off snappy to family if you're, just not wanting to talk about it, or want to talk about something, or honestly just feel frustrated that learning not to be frustrated with people when they complain about just things, because we all have our own things. And just because I feel like one thing may be a lot to me, I shouldn't lessen, what someone else may be upset about, because that's something I've had to try to remain mindful of in those scenarios. So it's, for me, it's different. It just varies. So
It's a roller coaster.
try to keep myself grounded as best I can. So, I'm level-headed and thinking about how I can best, go through this and be good for my brother and myself, just so we can, work through those hard times and see for the brighter side of things, as best we can.
Sure. Thank you. I think that really leads to the next question, which is for Kiara and Brooke. I'm very interested, which I'm sure everyone listening is very interested in this as well. What are some common coping tools, techniques you use to brave your most difficult emotional times? We can start with you, Brooke.
I like to spend time with my husband. I just started reading. I like to read a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I planted my own garden this year, so
Look
it's
at you.
very rewarding. I've really enjoyed that, watching it all grow and just putting work into it, getting distracted from everyday life. I have 2 dogs, so that's like a full-time job too. So they're always going. And yeah, that's what I do to try to cope with it and enjoy life a little bit more.
That's good. What about you, Kiara?
Okay. So me, I really kind of like tapped into my love language a lot. So I love to read. So I love to, well, let me go back. So my two top love languages are words of affirmation and what's the other one? I forgot. But for the words of affirmation one, I really like anything dealing with like words or like letters. So sometimes I'll just like write letters to myself. Sometimes I'll listen to like really encouraging messages. I love to go get massages. Like that's like when I don't want anybody asking me any questions, like that's just my thing to just go and just recharge and just like just be to myself for a little while.
Yeah.
Because you do get a lot of questions, especially from family. In my family, I've had this disease for 14 years and I can explain it until my face turns red. They still don't get it. So it's like, okay, I don't feel like talking to anybody today. And I'll just, now I have this thing where on Fridays, I turn my phone completely off and just shut off from everybody, from everything. I go do what I want to do, however long I want to do it for. And I come back home and go to sleep. And I'll turn my phone back on the next day. And that really helps me because sometimes you just really do need to just like just get away and just recharge. And it's nothing wrong with that. So if that's what you need, do you.
Hey,
That's
man.
okay.
Hey,
Yeah.
man. I hear you, girl. I need to start doing that Friday thing. So true.
Yeah, but now that I'm back working again, I don't think I can turn it off on Fridays, but I'm gonna try. I'm gonna see.
Oh, we need you to keep working. So yeah, don't do that on Fridays now. But yeah,
Get home.
those are all great. Thank you. This next one is for Becca, Jordan, and Kiara. In meeting a newly diagnosed patient and or caregiver of a patient with the same diagnosis as you, what advice would you give them regarding how they care for themselves emotionally? We can start with you, Becca.
Okay, I'm just gonna read what I wrote because I don't want to like get off track. But as a caregiver, I would say that you are never alone. With today's technology, there are so many avenues that you can like join a group on Facebook, like join this group right here that you're at, and just listen. I find that sometimes Google is my worst best enemy because I sometimes go on these little like paths and I'm like, oh, like people are doing this or people are doing that. But I'm just so eager to like learn about the disease. Even like attending a summit, I would say is so beneficial because you may not have the same disease as other people, but when you learn about all the diseases, they're all very similar. Like FSGS and IgAN, like they have different letters, but it all involves the kidney. So learning like at this past summit, meeting people and their children who have like not the same diagnosis as my daughter, but they have like similar symptoms. Like, hey, my kiddo was on prednisone. Like, we know what prednisone does. It causes joint pain. What did you do for that? What did you do? Like, it was so nice to like hear other people talk about like what they did to help themselves or their kids. So I would just say like you may feel alone and lost, but you're not, I promise you. Like there are people that are going through it. You just got to like keep asking, keep pushing and keep searching because it's going to click. Like it clicked for me here.
Thank you, Becca. Thank you. What about you, Kiara?
My advice to someone with my diagnosis or any other diagnosis is that it's okay not to be okay. I think sometimes we get so caught up in like, oh, I have to be okay, I have to be strong all the time. And I know what that's like firsthand because that's how I was like with my family. Like I felt like I had to, because I'm a bubbly person anyway. So like when I go through like hard times, people are kind of like dang, what's wrong with you? Like, it's almost like a shock, like, whoa, like you can't be down, like you keep the rest of us up. So
Yeah.
but I had to realize, like, but I'm human too. Like, just because I'm a strong person, that doesn't mean that I don't endure hard times, or that I don't cry, or, cry myself to sleep, or just get angry, because it happens. And I had to allow myself that space to be able to do that and know that it's okay to do that. And also finding community. I think those are the top two things for me that's kept me going all these years, just finding community and realizing that it's okay not to be okay. And every day it's not going to be sunshine and rainbows. Some days you are going to wake up and you're going to be pissed off. Like, why do I have to take prednisone? Like, or, why do I have to keep going to get these infusions, or whatever it is that you're dealing with? Even if you don't have a rare kidney disease, just life in general. This is for anybody on the panel, whether you have a rare kidney disease or not. It's okay to not be okay. And it's okay to seek help and be very unapologetic about that. So that is I kind of felt that, y'all. I'm
I
sorry.
felt that. I'm not gonna lie. That was definitely a moment. Yeah.
But yeah, that would be my advice to anybody, whether you're dealing with just bills, whatever it is. Just, yeah, it's okay not to be okay.
Thank you, Kiara. Jordan?
Yeah, thank you so much, Kiara. That was amazing. I I think for me, it's just really focus on the things that bring you peace personally, and like really leaning into that, and how you can help yourself emotionally when kind of navigating a new diagnosis. I just think it's really important for people not to feel like they have to, cope in the same way that someone else may, or feel like that one thing may help this person, it may not necessarily help you. I know, at least me personally, I wasn't as readily wanting to talk to too many people about it. I personally found out I was officially diagnosed when I was like at work, and I kind of read an email, put it down, and I just kept getting at it. Like I kind of talked about earlier, I kind of just get busy and try not to let things flood too much. But over time, like I got more comfortable speaking about it in certain capacities, and even now, every so often I may speak about it with a friend. I will to the family, but avenues like this are really nice for me from time to time to drop into and just really delve into. But it's just taking at your own pace, and what makes you comfortable and what can help you is very important, and not feeling like to hop into doing this or that because it may work for somebody else. It may not be a good fit for you, and that's completely fine. So I think that's my biggest takeaway. And advice I may give someone is just, may not work for you, but you can go maybe best for yourself.
Thank you, Jordan. I'm gonna kind of put you in the spot, Brooke. I kind of want to hear what you have to say about that too.
Sorry. So ask the question again.
I know it's been a minute, right?
Yeah.
No, you're fine.
The regarding themselves emotionally, right?
Yeah.
What advice? I would just don't be afraid to ask for help. That's like the biggest thing. It can be scary to try and ask, but we're not alone in this. And do what you love, because life is short, and if we're just trying to mope around all the time, it's going to be miserable, even more miserable than we are. So, yeah.
Thank you. I agree. So Becca, this is just for you, girl. You ready? My question for you is, Becca, as a mother of a 13-year-old with IgAN, how do you support her mentally and emotionally? What advice would you give other parents regarding supporting their children emotionally?
I consider my children babies. They're my babies forever. Like my daughter's 13, I still call her my baby. So I would say to other parents, no one knows your kid like you do. Nobody knows your kid's moods like you do. Like I can see when my daughter's moods change on the instant. I can see when she's tired. I know that the days that are hard because she's not in the mood to do certain things that she normally would be. She's not open for therapy. So that's like something that we talk about, like, hey, like, do you want to do therapy? Is this something you think that would be beneficial? She's like, no, you're my therapist. Sometimes I'm like, I love you, but I can just be your mom. So we do things like when she doesn't feel like talking, I think of like, okay, she's 13. What do 13-year-olds do? They're on their phones. So like
Mhm.
I send her like a text message or send her like a GIF because I'm considered old now. I'm not like young anymore.
Isn't that funny how that happens?
Yeah, it's crazy. So like I have to like think about like, okay, what is she into? Like they're into like TikTok. So like I made a TikTok and like ways that I can show her that I love her or like try to make a TikTok video. It is really difficult. And sometimes I'm like, hey, come here, come help me. Because this is what I want to do. And this is what I want to post. Are
Yeah.
you okay with it? And then it ends up, I think, like sometimes ends up being silly in a way for us to like work on something together that she's into. There are other times where I just give her some space, like
Yeah.
whether it's like an hour or even like the night, just give her some space because sometimes like I get it. Like I'm her mom and I try to like fix everything. And sometimes she just needs like her own space to like come back. And then we come back and discuss how she's feeling later on. And she's usually more open to saying, hey, like I'm a little stressed out about this. And her and I like we're both like learning this as we go. She's newly diagnosed and I'm me and her dad like navigate things day to day. So I say like to her like what I feel and what helped me help her.
Mhm.
So that's sometimes just like not overcomplicating it. You know what I mean? We can't fix everything. I can't make her better, but I can
Yeah.
communicate like what I want to from our relationship or what I want to see from her. Like if she's upset, I want her to be able to say, hey mom, like this is really bothering me. This is like stressing me out. Or maybe she's just fine and she just is like, mom, I'm okay. And I'm like, okay, then it's just me. Like I need to like calm down because I know she's good. So creating that communication with my child has been interesting because I want her to be able to like tell people, hey, like I'm okay, or no, I'm not okay. And trusting her and letting her learn her body is like the biggest goal.
Yeah. Thank you. That's amazing. Giving space, I think, is a big deal, especially for a 13-year-old.
Yeah.
I think a lot of parents can
And then
really,
sometimes I smother the heck out of her and we just end up laughing.
and she has to just deal with it.
Yeah. I'm like, just let me smother you for like 5 minutes.
Thank you. So for Brooke, Jordan, and Kiara, please describe your support system. How has it helped you, and why is it important to have a support system? We can start with you, Brooke.
I'll go first.
Yeah.
I have had my mom as my biggest support system. She's amazing, honestly. She's been going through this since I was 10. So it's been a crazy, 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 crazy roller coaster. She finally got me married off. So he can take a little bit of the extra stuff now that kind of helps her out a little bit because it is a lot for her. It was a lot for her at least. But I think it's important at least to have one person as your as somebody that you can, tell everything to. And so, but I've had a really good support system and I'm lucky for that, honestly.
Thank you. What about you, Jordan?
Thank you, Brooke. Sorry, actually. I think closed. Yeah, I'm very lucky to have a pretty extended support system throughout my family. A few couple friends, and luckily a pretty flexible workplace that just understands that my circumstances are like a little bit different than a lot of other people. And for me, it's pretty equally important that like I'm able to talk about what's going on if I would like to, as it is for me to not have to talk about it and kind of
Mm,
have my own space just to exist and not have to explain myself or how I'm
yeah,
feeling. And like, so in the workplace, especially it's very important for me because like my colleagues know that, I may not always be here for the whole entire day, but, I'm effective by my own means. I get my job done. And, I'm still equally, if not more, I'm actually more efficient working in my own capacity than if I was forced to be, working in a way that I was not most comfortable with. So yeah, it's just so important for me is because it allows me to focus on the things that, make me happy and make me, stay on track as to where I would like to be with my health. And this flexibility means a lot and truly makes a difference for me, at least personally. So I'm who I just know and I can't talk to, but also just know like, hey, he usually does not want to talk about it, but we understand what it is. Like that's, you know, I can't ask for much more than that. So it really is so important.
yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
I have a really good support system, but what I can say is when I first got diagnosed, I didn't feel supported
Hmm.
from my and I think it's because nobody knew like what it was or like how to make me feel better in a way because I didn't even know. They would ask me like, well, what can we do for you? And it's like I don't even know what I need. So in a way, I think I pushed my support system away in the beginning because I was so confused and angry. And that's just me being completely honest. Like I just pushed him away. I didn't want anybody in my face. I didn't want anybody asking me what does creatinine mean. I don't know myself. So don't ask me 1,001 questions and I don't know. But as an adult now, it's been a struggle, but I've had to learn how to like allow people to be there for me. This past semester I got sick. And so some of my roommates had to take me to the hospital and they corresponded, with my dad and my mom, let them know what was going on. But to know that I just had people in my corner, because everybody's not going to get up out the bed at 2 a.m. and take you to the hospital, so I was very in that moment, I knew who my true friends were, who my true friends are. And I'm just blessed to have such a great support system and NephCure as well. Like if I reach out to some of my NephCure buddies, like, hey, I'm in the hospital, they'll send like encouraging words or messages, funny memes, or something to make me laugh. So it's a support system is very important dealing with any kind of rare kidney, like any kind of rare disease, period. Just having a support system because, like I said earlier, you don't always feel strong all the time and you need people to lean on.
Sure.
So yeah, that's my little spiel.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all. Um, this next question's for Becca, Brooke, and Jordan. What are some things that you wish would have been what you wish you would have been asked regarding your feelings when you were diagnosed? So for Becca, it'd be for Bria.
Sorry, guys. I had to take my camera off because a doctor was calling. So when the doctors call,
Sure.
you have to answer.
Yes,
So that's what we were doing.
understandably.
We juggle things. Kidney warriors and caregivers of kidney warriors become great jugglers.
For
So
sure.
I put on here that I would have loved for more resources to be presented to my daughter for mental health in the beginning. Because it's such a lengthy process now, I think, to like get involved. And here in New Mexico, I don't know about other states, but like the resources are slim.
Mhm.
The times that it takes to get into a therapist or find one that you connect with, it's really difficult. So even though our diagnosis was like had not shown purple when we first got diagnosed, but we like have progressed to IgA and nephrotic syndrome and all these other diseases and stages that they're in. I feel like in the beginning, if we would have been like, hey, let's get you like art therapy or something now, that would have been beneficial, because now we're in stage 4 and she's like, I don't want to talk to anyone. I'm content talking to you and my dad, and she's happy with that. But I feel like if we would have been presented to us in the beginning, it would have been like a little bit easier to like
Of course.
the stages. I also put on here, there was like so much when we first got diagnosed to digest, just like learning like what the disease was and how to pronounce it. We were told that like it was gonna go away in like 4 weeks. They're like, oh, it's gonna be gone in 4 weeks, like you'll be fine. And look, we're like year 3 now. So that was hard. I feel that like as the disease progressed, I feel like it should still be brought up, which it's not. And I think that like everyone says, like how Kiara said, it's okay to not be okay.
Right.
I think at any point you should probably just know your kid or know yourself and your own limitations. So like don't get passed up just because you don't want to ask for help. Like ask.
Sure.
I'm still looking like for someone to like talk with my daughter, or even if it's just art therapy, like I think it would be beneficial to all of us. But now I'm at this stage where I'm like, okay, like who's gonna like get all of us in like a short amount of time.
Yeah. Thank you, Becca. What about you, Brooke?
So I was diagnosed when I was 10. And really that was like, I guess I'm 26. That was like 10 something years, so many years ago. It wasn't, people didn't know about, like, they didn't know anything about FSGS. Actually, I was diagnosed with IgA first, and then come to find out it was FSGS. So nobody knew anything. So I didn't know anything. And I guess I'm quickly now discovering all kinds of new things. So I guess you can't wish to know something that people didn't know, if that makes any sense.
No, it makes perfect sense.
So I guess I would have rather been diagnosed when I was 26 instead of 10. Then I wouldn't have to go through all that not knowing time. So, yeah.
Thank you, Brooke. What about you, Jordan?
As far as what I would wish someone would have said to me when I was first diagnosed, for me, I honestly, there's not much, if anything, just because I personally just needed time to kind of reflect and process on my own. Like, I didn't really want to I don't want anyone to ask me anything, like I wanted to kind of just sit to myself. I kind of want to just slowly come into the thoughts and just kind of go through that on my own before I really even considered hearing any outside questions. So it's at the immediate time frame, I really just wanted to kind of recluse a little bit. So, and I do want to further harp on that being, fine too, because everyone's different, everyone reacts different, and there's no correct way to, cope with your situation. But yeah, that's my biggest takeaway. I also want to say, based off the last question, support system, NephCure also has been a huge part, and I forgot to say as well. It's just coming into like being affiliated with you all, and every event I go to, every type of thing that like this I do with you guys, it just, I feel that much more connected. Get to know everyone so much more, and like it really is a huge thing for myself and my brother. So I just want to throw that in there as well.
So this question is kind of out of the loop. So you all may have not known this one. I think oftentimes in healthcare, I've worked in healthcare for quite some time now, and a lot of times patients and people are only identified by their diagnoses. I'm sure there's so much more to Brooke than the girl at FSGS, or so much more to Bria, even at 13, than someone with IgAN. What are some things that you want people to know about you that are outside of your rare kidney disease? Some identifiers, some things about you or Bria that make up that human being, that big human being that you all are, that have nothing to do with your diagnosis. Kiara, you want to start?
I would love to start. So people don't know this, but I love writing. I love to write. I'm actually working on my first book now. The first ones to know. But yeah, like I'm going through the process of getting it on Amazon and stuff, and it's just something that really, it's very therapeutic for me. It's something that I've always loved doing, but right when I was like in the middle of writing, or starting to write, I got diagnosed with my kidney disease. So then my identity changed from, oh, Kiara, she's the greatest little girl you ever meet, to, oh, the sick girl. So that was, yeah, that kind of hit for me when you said just like about, how we're just identified based on our diseases. Because it's so much more to me. I love kids. I want to be a BCBA, a behavior analyst for kids. Like that's what I'm doing now. So it's like people don't know that, but when you have like such a cloud over you of like being diagnosed with something so rare, that's all people ever really ask to know about you. So it's it's so much more to me. I'm fun. I like to travel. If y'all need a travel buddy, I'm here. Brooke, if you want to go, we're around the same age. Let's go. We can all go. So yeah, it's so, but also too, it lets you, it kind of makes you look through a different lens that is so much more to life than just this disease too. There's so much more than these diseases. And it took me so long to realize that, because even I started to believe it was nothing more to me than this disease. And I really had to like get by myself, pray, and remember who I really am and where my true identity lies. And it's not this disease. This is just a part of our story, y'all.
So true.
It's not, this does not define us.
Thank
So
you.
before I get emotional, let me hand the mic over to someone else. But I do
that's good.
Remember that, like, we're not, we're this disease is just a part of us. It's not who we are. But if you allow it to, it'll do it to you. So just keep that in mind.
Thank you, Kiara. Becca, what do you want people to know about Bria that's outside of her being diagnosed with IgAN?
Well, I think that my daughter is just the coolest kid on earth. I think she has a voice like an angel. And I'm so lucky that I get to hear her sing in the car, in the shower, in her room sometimes when I'm like in my room. Like, she's fun. She's just a fun kid. And she is so adventurous and sometimes spontaneous. She's really artistic. I call her like my little hippie because she's just her own little person, and I think she's like the coolest kid. If everyone could meet her, I think that you would probably say the same thing about her.
Thank you, Becca. What about you, Jordan? Who are you outside of your diagnosis?
So I mean, I love to travel as well. And I really love gardening, and like I love not much more than like I grew up right with my dad. So grabbing like one, with whether it's oregano, some basil, and then going in and cooking with that portion of my ingredient. It's such a fulfilling thing. To kind of see it go from this to that. And kind of tied into something else that I enjoy, which is cooking. But outside of that, something big that people don't know is that like when I first got diagnosed, and like I was just getting into my new job, which I've been at, about a year and a half now. And I was an intern at the time frame, also growing into like learning and all this, but throughout all what's happened in the past year, since I've been diagnosed, and two, to my brother, I've really grown into my job, and this one I'm pretty good at it. And I've been, I grew up, I sold candy when I was in elementary school. I used to shadow my uncle in the music, entertainment type world, podcast industry, and I'm now able, into my background, in my job, my profession, which is commercial real estate. I actually just closed a deal with one of my recording artists. I was someone I listened to for years, and just happened to be able to work with him. So I'm able to grow into kind of my roots in the entertainment world with my job, and I'm getting a lot more traction over there. So a lot of things I've been working on for a super long time, hoping to kind of tie together. I've been able to in this time frame that I've been newly diagnosed, and kind of still navigating stuff and whatnot. So that's been a really big part of my journey that I've really been trying to lean into, and not just having people think about me just being as like, someone with this diagnosis now, because people knew me for so many other things beforehand, and now I just do feel sometimes like people just, you could tell that's what they think of a lot of time when they see me first.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do like to think of other things that I am that aren't just my diagnosis, because as Kiara said, I can tell you out if you like to do so. So yeah, it's my couple little things.
Well, congratulations. That's exciting. Thank you, Jordan.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Brooke, who are you outside of your diagnosis? Who would you want people to know? What do you want people to know about you outside of your diagnosis?
Well, I like to cook. I wanted to be a chef, but I guess I kind of did the disease kind of get in my way. Because I guess it just got in my way a little bit, but I'm not going to let it stop me. I have goals and I will get there.
Yeah.
But I think I want to be a chef. So that's fine.
Thank you. So our last question before we go into questions, I want each of you to just give me one line pertaining to what you're most hopeful for. What are you most hopeful for? We can start with you, Becca, in regards to Bria.
I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that there's going to be a cure for every kid who has a rare kidney disease. And I'm hopeful that America will wake up and change working off a 40-year-old bill. Like, I'm hopeful that our government will say, hey, kids' voices matter too.
Yeah. Thank you. Kiara?
So this really has nothing to do with my disease, but I'm very hopeful to be a mom one day. I love kids. So just knowing that I have this disease, sometimes it's like, dang, like if I do have a kid, like, am I gonna give it to them? Like, how does all this work? So like being in love now, and like God sending me the love of my life, now it's like, dang, we want kids, but but I don't know. I'm very hopeful, and I'm positive. It's gonna happen. Y'all get to meet my kiddos one day.
Yeah. Thank you. What about you, Jordan? What are you most hopeful for?
Well, the kids thing is coming to mind now. Yeah, I definitely hope that's not an issue down the line as well. And I hope the same for you as well, Kiara. But I'm hopeful that, more widespread awareness, via organizations like NephCure and others, would just enable more people to, have early detection, really, just because, sorry, it's more of a line, but I'm just thinking of how things could have been different if me and my brother weren't so lucky. And
Sure.
it's just scary how there can be no symptoms. And, so I just hope more people know and are able to see early on.
Thank you. Brooke, what are you most hopeful for?
I'm hopeful for a cure for anybody dealing with any kind of sickness.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard any with whatever you have dealing with. So I'm just hoping for cures.
Thank you. Well, thank you all. Let's go into some questions. Our own Kelly Helm has a question. We know that mental health isn't part of the discussion early on in a diagnosis and isn't easily amenable to many. How have you navigated the mental healthcare system to get the care you need? Probably Becca, you want to answer that?
Oh yeah, I'm ready to go.
Let's do it.
Keep asking. I started off with a school, zero help. I didn't take their response as my last hope. I then went to her doctors and talked to the social workers there. And it's nice because they give you like this really thick book and they're like, here are all these people who you can call and see if you can get an appointment with. Well, are any of those people still practicing? Like, how old is this list?
Mhm.
And then you meet NephCure and you meet Montrez and you're like, hey, like I want to keep my Montrez in my pocket because I know that the day I need and the day that Bria wants to get help, whether it's a therapist or anything, Montrez is going to be there. NephCure is going to be there. I feel like NephCure is literally like my like backbone, that like my secret weapon that I can just pull out and use whenever I want. Because we had issues with Bria's school and I was getting no responses, no help. And Montrez sends one email and with one business day, I'm getting answers. And I'm like, yes, like thank God for NephCure, thank God for Montrez. Like social workers, I would say reach out to them. Like, don't settle for an answer. If you don't like the answer, keep asking the question until you get the answer you want.
Sure.
That would be like my best advice. And hey to my Canadian friends that are on video, I see you.
Thank you, Becca. Thank you so much. Does anyone else have any other questions for our panelists? You can just type in a question and we can get it answered. Let me look, hold on. Here we go, we got a second one. How has the disease impacted day-to-day lives? How about you, Kiara?
It literally impacts me every single day. Just it's every day it's something new. You don't know how you're gonna feel when you wake up. What's the question again?
How has the disease impacted day-to-day life?
Oh yeah, so it's a daily battle, but what's really helped me throughout this journey with this disease is that and I wrote part of this in my book, so y'all get a little snippet, but I was talking about just pretty much how you can turn a ugly situation into like a beautiful story.
Mhm.
Like being able to be around incredible people and having an incredible support system like NephCure, like it makes all of the difference. So my advice to you is to like try to make or find the beauty in your story in some kind of way, because we're all dealing with these things for a specific reason. It's not just for nothing. So I know, because I've had a lot of days where I'm just like, okay, God, why? Why do I have to wake up bones aching? I got to go outside today and be social, and I just don't feel like it. Why is this happening to me? And I know many of us have been here before where we're just asking why or just don't understand, can't seem to get answers. It's frustrating. And it's always something. I just like Kelly was talking about on the panel when we were in San Diego. I hate talking to insurance. So now, like, now that I have to do it on my own, now I see why my dad would hang up the phone in their face and stuff most of the time, because it's just that frustrating. So I get it, so yeah, so that would be my advice. Just try to find the beauty in your story in some kind of way, because I mean it's all for a reason. and just being able to give back and share my story and help others and inspire others to keep pushing. It makes all of a difference. So I would start there.
Thank you. Another question we have is, what has been a positive that came from your diagnosis? Brooke?
Well, I don't have many positives. I don't feel like, I feel like I maybe a positive now is meeting you guys, honestly, because since I was 10, I've struggled and I've not met one single person that has had what I had or is going through anything similar than what I have. So you guys are a good thing for me. NephCure, the people I've met through NephCure. But yeah.
No, thank you. That's a high compliment. So thank you. Thank you. What about you, Jordan? What's a positive that came from your diagnosis?
I definitely share the same sentiment as, being introduced to you all. But a positive that came from mine, if anything, is I think I just, try to be more mindful. Try to be just as tuned in with myself as I can be, and my emotions, my feelings, how I go about situations. Just, make sure I stay as much as I can, and like, I don't know, I think it's helped me in certain aspects of my life, just because I try to focus on the positive things. I try to be less reactive. So I think if anything, it's helped me to just kind of think about what really is actually a problem and what actually bothers me versus the things that don't. So I just think helping me practice mindfulness has been a nice positive for my diagnosis.
Thank you. And our last question, a lot of times with rare kidney disease, a lot of times our patient population and our families and the caregivers, they don't feel seen and heard sometimes with any illness. But I think rare kidney disease is one of those things that sometimes you may not feel seen and heard. Can you quickly describe a time throughout your disease trajectory that you felt both seen and heard? Kia?
For me, it would probably be when I shared my story through NephCure. Because before I shared my story, it seemed like people, they were interested while I was talking about it, but it didn't stick. So being able to have the opportunity to share my story multiple times through NephCure, I really felt heard, and not only heard, but I felt supported for once. And I didn't get that before, and that's what I had been looking for years, and I had never gotten it until I got the opportunity to share my story. And at first I was really nervous about doing it, because I was like, dang, like I have to share like embarrassing pictures of myself in the hospital. But that really gave me the power that I needed to really just grasp the understanding that I'm not alone. And that, everything was going to be okay. Like I had a support system behind me. So in the event that I do feel a little weak, or I need, people to lean on, I have people, not only just people, but people that truly understand what I'm going through. So that's why I say community is so important. And NephCure, you guys are doing just an amazing job, just having things like this, because we need this. Like somebody's listening and it's helping somebody. So that's what I'm saying. Like if you guys haven't had the opportunity to share your story, please do, because you don't know how many lives you're impacting. Even if they don't leave a comment, you don't know who you're helping. Everybody's not going to be vocal and say, this really helped me. But deep down in their heart, you've given them a few extra days to be able to push on. So it's that's why I say it's not just about us going through it. That's I believe that we go through everything for a reason. And I thought about it and I prayed about it too. I was like, okay, I don't want to do this. I'm not that vocal. I get nervous. But and I'm not trying to bring religion into it in any way, but God told me to do that. And
Mhm.
I did it. I was obedient, and I'm so happy that I was, because to see the lives that, I was able to impact and the people that I was able to help and reach, it makes such a difference. So, and I said, even for the people that don't feel comfortable sharing their stories, okay, I'll do it through mine. So it's not just for me, but for all of us. And I just hope and pray that one day everybody who's watching, if you're watching, the rebroadcast, share your story. Even if you don't have a rare disease, share your story, because you just never know who you can help. And there's so much power in sharing our stories with others.
Thank you so much, Kiara. Thank you. Becca, when have you feel like you, as far as you and Bria, have been seen and heard?
I think it's hard for Bria, I mean, it's just my opinion, because she looks like a normal kid. And she doesn't, like, rare kidney disease isn't like some forms of cancer. Like, she looks like a normal kid. She moves like a normal kid. But guess what? She's moving and she's dealing with joint pain or fatigue. So I feel like sometimes people assume that she's like healthy, normal, because she doesn't look sick. So I feel like just recently, this past month, I felt like she's being seen and heard through her school, which is huge because she was diagnosed right before the pandemic, and she was in elementary school. Now she's gonna be in 8th grade. And this 7th grade year was like really hard for her. And I think it took you, Montrez, like lighting that fire under that sweet email that you wrote. It wasn't even anything, like just them hearing from someone else that wasn't me saying, I'm her mom, like this is what we have to do. Somebody else who's not related to me, has no relationship to me or Bria, saying that, this is what Bria deals with daily. Like, then they like finally like took a breath and said, hey, we get it.
Yeah.
So even if you feel like you're not being seen or heard, sometimes it's someone else, like your social worker, who can help you be seen or heard, or help your family member or anyone. Because sometimes I feel like I'm this mom who's like, hey, like we're over here, come help us. But it's like, they're just like passing by, like, hey, I see those people on that island. They look like they're happy. They look like they're doing great. No, we're stuck on an island that we don't want to be on. Like, get us off.
Thank you, Becca. So for everyone, first, foremost for our panelists, y'all are incredible. Thank you for being so brave and courageous and doing this and agreeing to do this for not only myself, but also NephCure as a whole. You've shared your amazing journeys, and I'm sure, as Kiara stated earlier, you've helped people who may not have commented, who may have said, who may be too shy at the time, maybe more reserved, possibly empowered them to share their stories. And so we really do appreciate you all. We appreciate everyone who has attended and joined. And I really want to emphasize that there is hope, and that at NephCure, we are here for you. As cliche as that may sound, we really are. And I'm so happy to have the honor of being part of a community, an organization that really is championing, fighting for their patients and their families. So take care of yourselves, and please reach out to us and everyone you feel comfortable with when you need help. Your lowest is not the end. Thank you all so much.
Thank you guys all so much. You guys, good night.
Montrez works wonders, people.
Amen. Good night.